was either going to bolt up or just be really disappointing.
I think it's the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen in my life.
If Wembley had gone home straight, I'm pretty sure Wembley would have been winning that race.
He's a big price at 100 to 1. I've seen worse 100 to 1 shots.
I was really impressed considering the horse almost fell out the stalls.
Honestly, I think she really does have a good chance here.
Hello and welcome to the Next Gen Racing YouTube channel for our preview of the Guineas, the first classics of the season. And this is where the flat action really gets underway. Jack, I bet you're looking forward to this weekend.
I can't wait. I'm like a kid in a sweet shop. Let's just get on with it. Let's go.
Yeah, and before we get into the Guineas, which we're going to discuss at the back end of this video, we're going to kick things off with the group races that are on the card. There's 3 of them that we're going to look into on the Saturday and Sunday. And we're going to start off with the Palace House Stakes. A nice 5 furlong sprint to get stuck into straight away. It's a group 3. Lazuli is your 3-1 favourite. Liberty Beach is 7-2. Keep Busy 4-1. Come From the Dark is 13-2. Garrus 7-1, Judicial is 8-1, Al-Jadi is 10-1, Arecibo is also 10-1 and 12-1 bar those. Jack, like I say, quite a nice open looking group 3 sprint to kick things off. Who have you gone with?
So I personally I think the top 2 in the market are quite hard to split. I mean, I'd marginally side with Yazalai, who obviously finished 3rd in Meydan recently, but there's one at a price that I think's gone slightly under the radar, and he could run a big race on his reappearance, and that's Dubai Station, who's currently 20-1. Now, he was 3rd in the Norfolk as a 2-year-old, then won nicely on his reappearance last year at Newcastle, beating Malatru, who then finished 3rd in the Prix Jean Prat before going elsewhere. After that, he was 3rd behind Glen Shiel in a Group 3 in France, and I think he could bounce back fresh. He runs well fresh, and I think 20-1 he could be a bit overpriced.
Yeah, I'm going to go one at a price as well. I quite like Emirati Anna in here. In the Aberdeen Stakes was 3rd behind Summergand and Oxford. Ran a really nice race, and I think a fast pace would suit here. I've kind of looked through who might take up the running here, and I think Al-Jadi could be a horse that could take the pace and tow them along here. And the other one that might be slightly interesting at price would be under Tom Marquand, a man who I think might be going for champion jockey this season. That'll be Arecibo, course and distance winner only recently in a handicap, and I think the horse will come on from there. So it's going to be, for myself, Emirati Anna in the Palace House Stakes, and for Jack, it's going to be Dubai Station at a big price. Right, we move on to the Jockey Club Stakes now. This is a great race over 1.5 miles. A Group 2 pile driver is your 2-1 favourite. Sir Ron Priestley is 5-2. Al Zarakan is 3-1. Bangkok is 5-1. Pablo Escobar 8, and then you've got Thunderous at 10-1. They're all closely matched in the betting. Jack, I really like Sir Ron Priestley here, who won the listed race at Nottingham only recently, actually beating Ocean Wind, who we actually saw yesterday, who finished behind Stradivarius. It was great to see Stradivarius back on track and doing what he loves best, and hopefully he goes and wins that 4th Gold Cup. But I just think that the horse has bundles of ability. 2nd in the St. Ledger off. We didn't see enough of him. We didn't see any of him actually last year. But we're actually looking forward to seeing this horse and what he can do. And listening to Mark Johnson just saying that the horse, I believe in sort of what Mark Johnson says, and this horse has the ability to stay, but has the speed power as well. I think a mile and a half is probably as short as this horse wants to go, and I can see this horse potentially stepping up to 2 miles as well. But I really can't see past Sir Ron Priestley in this, Jack. What about yourself?
Yeah, I think you've hit the nail on the head with Sir Ron Priestley wanting further. I know he kind of has a speed, but for me, I think he is going to want further in time. For me, I think pile driver is the best of the lot here. It depends how he comes from his reappearance. Obviously, he was 3rd in the Ledger, won the Volta in some style, and I do expect him to be a bit classier than the rest. How he comes back from his time off is a big unknown, as it is with a lot of horses. But that being said, I think Al Zarakan, he's a really likeable colt. I mean, he's by Golden Horn, destroyed his rivals at Kempton last month in a race that's actually working out quite well. So, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised to see him run a big race. It's not a race that I'll be getting involved with too much from a punting perspective. I'll probably just marginally side with pile driver for the class over anything else. But with the fitness edge, I think Al Zarakan will be bang there.
Yeah, I think it's a really fascinating race, but Jack and I believe it's going to be between the top 3 in the betting. Do let us know down in the comments who you fancy in this race, because a real fascinating contest, and you could probably make a case for all of these runners, to be totally honest. But for myself, it's going to be Sir Ron Priestley, and Jack's going to go with Al Zarakan, but also pile driver to run a big race. Okay, the group race on the Sunday now, away from the Guineas again, is the Dalia Stakes. It's the Group 2 over a mile and 1 furlong. Queen Power is your 5-2 favourite here. Memora is 7-2. Forat is 5-1. Lavender's Blue is 5-1. Lady Beaufort 6-1. Posted is 7s and 8-1. Bar those. Jack, I actually really fancy a horse in here, and that's Lavender's Blue. To run really, really well. Really nice appearance at Kempton recently. And the one thing that I went back and looked at with this horse, all of her turf wins have had firm in the description. Her only 2 turf wins, so good to firm at the moment at Newmarket. As long as the rain doesn't come, I know the ground's going to be quick enough there. And her maiden win was actually at Newmarket. So I'd give her a massive, massive shout if the ground stays the way it is. What about yourself?
Yeah, it's an intriguing race. I don't think it's competitive, but it's not really quality. 11 of the last 12 winners were 4 years old, and only 4 of the 10 that line up here are 4-year-olds. So I think that's a little bit odd. And also 11 of the last 12 are in the top 3 of the betting. So it's always better usually to look to the forefront of the market when it comes to the Dalia Stakes. That being said, there's actually one at a price who I'm going to give another chance to, and that's the Gosden filly, Indie Angel. She ran too bad to be true when odds-on favourite at Lingfield on an all-weather Champions Day. Now, we were talking about that, and we thought she was going to win. I mean, she went off odds-on with Frankie on board. On her penultimate run, she came swooping all the way around the outside and made it look quite easy. Now, she won at Lingfield that day really nicely, and Frankie's back on board. Of course, Martin Harley was on board at Lingfield last time out. She may have needed the run. She may have not had the class, but I mean, at 16-1, it's the Torre Gosden duo. I don't think she'll go off 16-1 on the day. I think she's worth a go at this trip, up to 9 furlongs, and I think 16-1 could be an okay price.
Yeah, it's one actually I put down in my notes. I had Lavender's Blue down, but I put Indie Angel down saying could definitely improve coming onto the turf again, especially after that run. So Indie Angel definitely one to watch out for at a price. And for myself, it's going to be Lavender's Blue in the Dalia Stakes at Newmarket. Right, on to the big 2 races now, and it's the Guineas. And we'll start things off on the Saturday with the 2,000 Guineas. And I will give an insight. We spoke to Oisin Murphy earlier in the week to give his insight into both Guineas. And I'll tell you what he thought about each race in a second, but we'll go off with the betting in the 2,000 Guineas. And Wembley is currently your 9-2 favourite, the Dewhurst second, and the National Stakes second over in Ireland. Thunder Moon is 5-1, who is third in the Dewhurst, actually winning the National Stakes as well. Mutasabek, 11-2, supplemented for this race, was the winner of a condition stakes by 6 lengths, beating Noble Dynasty last time out in Newmarket. One Ruler is 6-1, one of the 2 course and distance winners in the field. Second in the Vertem Futurity Stakes. We know that the winner of that race has thrown up the last 3 winners of the Guineas, which is fascinating. St. Mark's Basilica, next in the betting, 6-1. The Dewhurst winner and third in that National Stakes. There's a lot of form tying in everywhere. Master of the Seas is 8-1. Winner of the Craven Stakes, another one who is a course and distance winner here and was 4th in that National Stakes. Battlegrounds 9-1, second at the Breeders' Cup and the Vintage Stakes and Chesham winner. Chindit is 10-1, winner at Newbury in the Greenham, 9th in the Dewhurst and winner of the Champagne Stakes, and it's 12-1 bar those. Jack, like I said there, the form with sort of especially with the Irish horses, just ties in everywhere. Horses beating each other. It's really hard to look at. But the race that I really want to kind of focus on first of all is the Dewhurst, which is known as one of the better trials for the Guineas. I mean, we've all watched that Dewhurst there. And seen that there are a lot of horses that got unlucky runs, especially Wembley. Wembley is, in my opinion, the deserved favourite in here, despite not winning that race. I was really kind of impressed considering the horse almost fell out the stalls, was stuck in stall 1 that day, fell out the stalls and got moved around the course. I mean, it was very difficult for Moore to get that horse settled, but sort of ran on very well towards the finish. What did you make of that Dewhurst? Do you think we've potentially got the winner in here?
Yeah, I do think so. I mean, I think Thunder Moon and Wembley are both at the right end of the market. When they were 8 and 9-1 or whatever it was at the beginning of the flat season, that was way too large, as has been shown now. I think they were both drawn on the wrong side of the track. It was much harder there, especially Wembley didn't really have any cover. They were quite close to each other. The thing with Wembley for me is that he never really breaks that well, and he's always a little bit slow at the beginning. And obviously, from there it's an uphill battle because you're waiting for the gaps, you're waiting for the passage, and that can't always come. And I have a feeling with Wembley we could have a hard luck story where he's full of running. He always travels very strongly, finishes his races very well, but I'm not sure whether he'll win. He'll run his race. I said it on our flat anti-post video. He reminds me of Wichita, bless him. I mean, he runs his race every time, but he stays on very well. But he just doesn't get his nose in front at the right time. I mean, he'll probably be in the frame, finish second and third, finish strongly, but I'm not sure he'll win. I mean, in the Dewhurst as well, you got Thunder Moon, who I thought was travelling really strongly up to the 2 pole, couldn't quite get through the ground and finish third. But considering Joseph O'Brien said he's going to come on for that, I think he's personally the one to beat, in my opinion. I think his turn of foot on this good firm ground will be electric. I mean, of course, we haven't seen where they're drawn yet, so that could always hinder one or not's chances.
Yeah, no, that was the fascinating thing, is that you look at the betting, and the one that actually won that race is the longest price of the three. So I agree with you. I definitely think he's a decent price now. I mean, he was drawn fairly well that day, and the horse did kind of interfere with Thunder Moon and Wembley. Kind of Frankie had the whip in the left hand. The horse came across and pushed Wembley and Thunder Moon out slightly, which didn't help Wembley's straight run at all. If Wembley had gone home straight, I'm pretty sure Wembley would have been winning that race. I mean, for me, out of that lot, I mean, the first for me is going to be Wembley. You're obviously siding with Thunder Moon. I'd say that Thunder Moon, it's already been well documented that this horse is going to love good to firm ground, and like I mentioned earlier, we're probably going to be seeing that. So I'm really fascinated by that. The one that I do think is slightly too short, maybe a bit of an unknown, but too short, is Mutasabek, who's obviously won that condition stakes by 6 lengths over the course. Jack, what do you make of that? Do you think 11 to 2 is too short, or are we going on the basis that 11 to 2 is because of the fact this horse is now unbeaten and we don't know how good potentially he could be?
I think you're paying for the supplementation. If he hadn't been supplemented and he was already entered, I don't think he'd be 11 to 2. I think because they've supplemented him and gone to the depths of doing that, I think everyone's jumping on the bandwagon as such. I mean, don't get me wrong, it was a good race. I thought Duke of Mantua was going to come out of it. He'll probably want further in time. It was a good enough performance. He stretched away clear, but I just think there's more class, especially from Ballydoyle here. For me to be getting anywhere near Mutasabek, I'd probably have to be looking at 12 to 1 upwards, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, completely agree. And we'll get on to the Godolphin pair now. Now, like I said, we spoke to Oisin Murphy earlier in the week. He's actually told us that he's going to be at Goodwood on the Saturday, but he has given his opinion. He thinks that Ryan Moore's going to be aboard Wembley. He thinks that's probably the best, the Aidan O'Brien, like we said there. But he had a lot of respect for Master of the Season here, who obviously won the Craven Stakes in impressive style, considering a lot went wrong in that race. I think he's a horse that he kind of likes a few things going wrong, but Oisin was very impressed by his turn of foot and the acceleration that this horse produced. Now, what was fascinating is we saw One Ruler anti-post. This horse was right at the top of the market. If not, I think he was the favourite at one point for quite a while. Yeah, he was. For quite a while, it was fascinating to see, thinking when Master sees one, thinking, God, how good do they think One Ruler might be? But obviously now Master of the Seas, Buick has picked that as his choice of rides. Jack, obviously, like you said earlier, with regards to the Vertum Futurity, it was on bottomless ground. If people like recent trends, they'd probably be following Max Swinney in here to go and win the Guineas. But I just think the ground was too bottomless that day. And One Ruler could be one that just comes out and surprises a few people over Master of the Seas. I'd love to see Master of the Seas in the Derby. I actually noted this horse down when he won his Norwich race over the July course. I noted this horse down as a potential Derby contender. Obviously not actually supplemented for that yet. But for me, I actually think that One Ruler might be the one to follow here. I don't know about you out of the two. One Ruler is going to be the horse that I've put down to finish third in this race, by the way. That's my third choice in this race.
I understand the support to an extent. I mean, I still don't get how he's shorter than Master of the Seas. He was beaten by Lanicash and New Mandate on good ground at Doncaster. Yes, I mean, the run in the Futurity was a good run behind Max Swinney on what was bottomless. You couldn't say anything, but I do think Master of the Seas, I think he showed a nice temperament at Newmarket last time out in the Craven. I mean, he didn't really get it all his own way, of course. He looks like a bit of a pain to get on board. But I mean, if Buick's chosen him, he usually doesn't get it wrong. I think James Doyle's got a nice ride on One Ruler as well, as you say. But I do think out of the pair, I'd rather side with Master of the Seas, especially at the prices. I don't get how he's a little bit longer than One Ruler at this moment in time.
Yeah, I mean, we'll go back quickly to the Aidan O'Brien team as well. Battleground in here. I mean, I'm actually surprised to see this horse in here. Whether this horse actually still runs, I'm not 100% sure. But in terms of form, second at the Breeders' Cup, the Vintage Stakes winner and a Cheshire winner, a fairly decent price. I mean, I actually thought this horse might turn out to be a sprinter within time. I actually noted him down to say that potentially you might end up seeing this horse over 6 furlongs, but what do you make of his chances if he is in here, Jack? If he does end up running on Saturday, do you think that he's got a chance of kind of being in the mix?
No, not really. I think it was Fire at Will who he's beaten at and by the Breeders' Cup. I don't think that was the greatest run. He was asked to do a lot late on. He came from right at the rear of the field, finished well in second. Don't get me wrong, but he's out. He's by Warfront as well, and sometimes they don't always progress from 2 to 3. I kind of want to see it to believe it. As you said, there's been so much support for the other Ballydoyle recruits. I don't know if I'd really be backing Battleground to kind of build up that form, as you said. I think he'll probably actually go further in time, of course. Found was over 1.5 miles, so I think he could go further in time. But out of the Ballydoyle battalion, as I said, Thunder Moon for Joseph O'Brien would be my number 1. 2, St Mark's Basilica for me. I know you like Wembley, but I just don't think he likes to win personally. So that's probably the 1-2 from the Ballydoyle for me.
Okay, yeah. I mean, my 1, 2, 3 is going to be Wembley, Thunder Moon, and One Ruler. I know they're fairly short in the betting, but I do think that the top of the market is fairly strong here. I think they're actually some of the prices about these horses are quite nice at the moment. I'm surprised not to see a lot of them a bit shorter. The one that I do want to mention for Ballydoyle, who would be really fascinating, because I think Aidan O'Brien, in his head, he really wants to win the Triple Crown, winning the 2,000 Guineas, the Derby, and the Ledger. He obviously came very, very close with Camelot, with Joseph O'Brien riding that horse. And Van Gogh in here, if Van Gogh runs, is the only horse that I could see. I'm not saying obviously he's got a chance here, but it's the only horse I could see running in all 3 classics. Personally, I could potentially see this horse running in Derby and potentially having a big chance in the Ledger. Looks like he could be a decent stayer in time. So it would be, if he did go and win this 2,000 Guineas, I wouldn't rule him out of being a really classy type. Probably not the best form as a 2-year-old, but potentially if he's come on, he could run a really decent race. But Jack chinned it as well. The green and winner, not really something that I wanted to touch after watching that race. Are you in the same opinion there?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I know Richard Hannon's also come out today and said the undulations of the track might not be ideal for him. I would have had to see a lot more there. There is one that I want to mention at an each way price. There's usually one in the Guineas, especially the ones who are posted on the rail. They usually run a big race. You had it last year, you have it the year before. There's always someone floating about at 66, 33s, and at 100 to 1, Devil Waller, I think, could run a big race. He was 4th in the Dewhurst. He was drawn right on the rail where he wanted to be. He likes to dictate the pace. Was also 4th in the Craven as well. I think he's a big price at 100 to 1. I've seen worse 100 to 1 shots. Let's put it that way. I mean, after the Dewhurst, when he ran nicely into 4th, stayed on well on that bottomless ground. He went over to the Breeders' Cup, and I'll put a picture up now from the start because he gave away about 8 lengths, missing the break. And I mean, from there, he actually stayed on well into 8th. Of course, that was the race which Battleground finished second in. Now, in the Craven, he was probably staying on into about 2nd or 3rd. Last 50 yards didn't stay at all, so he was back into 4th there. Now, if he does get drawn on that rail, I think 100 to 1, he could well be in the frame there. So the 1, 2, 3 that I kind of want to aim upon is Thunder Moon, St Mark's Basilica, and an each way price Devil Waller.
Wow, that'd be a huge tri-class if Jack can land that. Like I say, mine's at the top of the market. In the 2,000 Guineas, I'll be with Wembley, Thunder Moon, and One Ruler. Right, on to the 1,000 Guineas now, and this is just ridiculous. Santa Barbara is your 6-4 favourite, a winner of a maiden at the Curragh by 2.5 lengths, and that's it. And we've got a 6-4 favourite. Pretty Gorgeous 5-1, winner of the Fillies Mile, beaten by Shell twice. That was including in the Moyglare Stakes. That's fascinating. That is. Alcohol Free is 7-1. Won the Dubai Duty Free Stakes, beating Statement recently, and also the Cheveley Park Stakes winner. Sacred, winner of the Nell Gwyn recently, and also second to Campanelli, the American horse in the Queen Mary at Royal Ascot last year. Saffron Beach 12-1, second to Sacred in the Nell Gwyn, but also winner of the Oh So Sharp Stakes. and Mother Earth 14-1. Juvenile fillies turf second over at the Breeders' Cup, and third in the Fillies Mile and 16-1 bar those. Now, Jack, there's only one place to start, and that's the ridiculous price potentially of Santa Barbara. I mean, no one can say that this is a backable price about this horse, unless you're in Aidan O'Brien's yard and you know for a fact that this is one of the best fillies they've ever had in that yard. What's your opinion about the price about this horse?
You've hit the nail on the head. I think it's the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen in my life. All it is guessing. If you're backing it now, you're just guessing. You're hoping on laying on the tongue of Aidan O'Brien. I mean, how many times have we seen something gambled in and not win? I mean, for her to be 6-4, I would have wanted her to win that maiden by half the track.
That's it,
And
yeah.
and even if Ballydoyle was saying she's amazing, how do they know the other 10 who haven't had a reappearance aren't amazing as well? I mean, I just think it's laughable. It's laughable. Only
Can
two
we
of the
can
lot.
we just go back to last year as well,
Mm.
where Pinatubo was in the 2000 Guineas against Arizona, and the vibes of Arizona were that
Oh,
this horse had a drone following it at like 40 miles an hour, and the drone couldn't keep up. And then we saw him run in the 2000 Guineas in a massive flop, and never saw anything from Arizona the whole season. Do we think we're living up to a lot of hype here that's a bit dangerous?
yeah. I think we are definitely. I mean, only two of the last 12 favourites have won of the Thousand Guineas, and we got a 6-4 favourite who we've seen won a maiden. Oh, Sam, honestly, I'm not saying she won't win because she may win, but I just think the
Of
price is
course.
a joke. I think it kind of makes a mockery of the race, if I'm being honest. I think it's ridiculous. I mean, the average Joe can't look into it at all. You're reading and you're hoping, and suddenly you're putting down your hard-earned cash on something at 6-4, which you've only seen run once around the car and doesn't say she's very good on the clock. Oh, Sam, it just baffles me.
It really is. And with regards to this race, we obviously caught up with Oshin. Oshin obviously rides alcohol free here for the boarding yard. Sat on her on Wednesday morning, said she felt absolutely fantastic. Like I say, the Cheveley Park Stakes winner and winner of the Dubai Duty Free Stakes. She could go really well. But the one thing that Oshin did say in the race that he thinks that the Joseph O'Brien trained Pretty Gorgeous should be a lot shorter in the market compared to Santa Barbara. Now, Jack, Pretty Gorgeous is actually a horse that I've slowly been drawn to over the last couple of weeks. Winner of the Fillies Mile. I mean, obviously beaten by Shell. Shell's probably not going to go. Shell's going for the Irish Guineas by looks things, but essentially Shell was a bit disappointing actually on seasonal reappearance. But Pretty Gorgeous for me potentially could be the one that a bit sounds weird, but a bit overpriced at 5-1 if the favourite 6-4.
No, I completely agree. I mean, if you look on paper, winning the Phillies Mile compared to winning round a little jog around the Curragh, then I think 9-2 is a big price. I mean, she hasn't been her best on good ground, I'd say. Obviously beaten by Shell twice on good ground, very versatile ground wise. But I'm not sure, Sam. Personally, I don't think there's anything towards the top of the market which is screaming at me as much as the 2000 Guineas. I don't think there's much substance perhaps in the Phillies Mile
Mm.
form, and I do think it will be one of those who turns up on the day, especially in the 1,000 Guineas compared to the 2,000.
No, that's it. Sacred in here is fascinating. Sacred is going to be part of my 1-2.
Mm.
I think Pretty Gorgeous is going to finish first, and Sacred could be finishing second. I actually really fancy this horse in that Queen Mary Stakes against Campanelli. Ran a really nice race under James Doyle. Unfortunately, the American horse went and won that, and potentially that horse could be coming over now to go in the Commonwealth Cup. Jack, just quickly on the Commonwealth Cup, do you want to quickly discuss Supremacy's run at Ascot on Wednesday?
I knew this was going to come up. I knew this was going to come up. Look, he finished sixth on his debut at Windsor last year, and everyone's writing him off straight away. He's drifted from 4s to 12s in the Commonwealth Cup, and I think everyone kind of needs to relax a little bit. Of course, nothing went right for him. He probably isn't right. Clive Cox said when they give him scans and checks, if there's nothing that comes out abnormal, he'll be very surprised. But I don't know. I didn't think they wanted to dictate with him. He's made all twice. I don't really know why he was just sitting off the pace. Adam Kirby didn't look that relaxed halfway through. Obviously, he was first off the bit. The rain that came late on didn't really help. But I don't know. I'll have to give him another chance before I completely write him off.
There you go. We had to get away from the Guineas for a bit just to get your thoughts on that horse. It's like when Goshen runs, everyone wants to hear what I have to say with regards to that horse. I think Mother Earth's actually quite fascinating in here. I do think that horse ran really well over at the Breeders' Cup. I know we're looking at a completely different type of track here. But I think she's a filly that could definitely improve, and third in that fillies mile. I'd actually be surprised if she didn't run a big race for the Aidan O'Brien team and potentially turn over Santa Barbara. It might even be finish ahead. I think Santa Barbara is one of those horses that's either going to bolt up or just be really disappointing out the back. What the scary thing is, this horse could go and win the 1,000 guineas and going to end up probably even money for something like the Oaks, which is just ridiculous. Go on then, Jack. Something at a big price in here that you might quite like, and also give us your sort of 1, 2, or your 1, 2, 3 in here.
Yeah, I will. Quickly, I think Sacred, Tom Marquand being on board, that's a little bit of a worry for me because, of course, she was favourite in the Flying Childers when they finished second. Tom Marquand was on board. I think Tom Marquand's a great jockey, don't get me wrong, but perhaps doesn't get on with this filly as much as Ryan Moore did at the weekend or James Doyle did last year. I quite like Saffron Beach as well. I think she's a lovely filly. I think she ran well into second last week. As you say, Mother Earth, another really nice filly. But Sam, I mean, you've probably seen from Twitter one that I took out of the race, the alcohol-free one. Last week, and that's Vadream for Charlie Fellows.
Yeah,
now,
she
was 100 to 1 at the time, and she's 25 to 1 now. And honestly, I think she really does have a good chance here. I really do. In November on debut with Stevie Donahue at Newcastle, it was a hands and heels performance. She was as keen as anything early doors, but she got into such a nice rhythm 2 furlongs out and was travelling so nicely with the shake of the rein. She quickened really nicely. Again at Newbury last week, Jamie Spencer in the saddle, who's going to be in the saddle on Sunday, missed the break slightly, was as keen as anything, sweating beforehand. You would have thought she had no chance when she was last about 2 furlongs from the start. But she just got into another really nice rhythm down the near side. Jamie Spencer was as cool as anything as he is, but as soon as he started to shake the reins, there was the response, and she clocked the quickest time for the last 3 furlongs. Joint with Primo Baccio, actually, who was on the other side with Tom Marquand on board, who I think is going to be a really nice filly as well, but isn't entered here. But I mean, Sam, with everything going wrong early doors, she still flew home, and I really do think she has a big chance here at 25 to 1. I mean, she's only had the 2 runs. If that's her reappearance, I do think she's going to come on for it. And honestly, I think 25 to 1 is a really big price. I haven't really felt like this about a filly for a while. At 25 to 1, I think she's a massive price, especially against a favourite, which we don't know what she's going to bring to the table.
Cool. Very, very bullish, Jack. That's strong. So in this race, you 1, 2, or you 1, 2, 3? Who are you going with?
Oh, so the one for me is going to be Vadream, and following her home is going to be Pretty Gorgeous.
Cool. One at a good price for Jack. I do think there's plenty of value in this race. I'm going to be going for Pretty Gorgeous to finish first, and Sacred's going to be finishing second. But I could potentially also see that Mother Earth could finish ahead of Santa Barbara. If you're one that doesn't like the sound of this Santa Barbara, there is a lot of value in the 1,000 guineas. So best of luck with your selections for the guineas. Like I say, do let us know who you're going to be going with for the week, and we're always fascinated to hear your opinions. But we'll now move on to any other races that we've got on the card. Okay, there's not one for Jack for the rest of the card, but I've got one in the second race on the Saturday in the 1 mile, 1 furlong handicap, and that's Overright for Mark Johnson and Franny Norton. Now, the horse has actually been heavily campaigned already with 3 races during April, and the second run of the season was actually at this course where he went and won. He was actually receiving a stone from Oh This Is Us, and Oh This Is Us actually went and won on Wednesday at Ascot. But I do think this horse seems to love it here. I think the ground's going to be no issue, only £2 higher from that run at Newmarket. I just think that 14 to 1 is far, far too big for the Mark Johnson team. So that's going to be Overright on the second race on the card on Saturday. Right, that's it for our weekend preview. Like I say, some fantastic action coming your way. We've also got Goodwood as well, mine and Jack's local course, and we'll hopefully have some really great content from Goodwood later on this season. But thanks so much for watching so far. Just keep on subscribing. The amount of subscribers we're getting is absolutely ridiculous. If we can get to 500 in the next couple of weeks, we'll probably sort of think of some sort of giveaway or something that we can do on this channel. So do subscribe if you haven't already. We're going to be back on Tuesday with our Guineas review, where we're going to be reviewing the action from the 2 classics from this weekend. I hope you all have a fantastic weekend, and we will see you on Tuesday. Thanks for watching.